Howdy! Welcome to Aspire Mountain Academy. I'm Professor Curtis, your instructor for this course in introductory statistics. In less than 10 minutes, this video provides even more practice for conducting hypothesis testing on proportions. Let's get started. Window or owl, boys? Yeah, we already see that question. I think about that line that Basher gives from that movie Ocean's 11. I'm not talking about the 2001 version, not the 1960 version. Granted, the 1960 version had the Rat Pack, Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., and they put on a good show, don't get me wrong, but I hated the ending for the 1960 version. The 2001 version, much better, much better. So, window or owl, boys. So this is actually involving a survey, a poll that was conducted by 3M about their privacy filters. These are filters that you place over your laptop. And so the idea is that you place it over your laptop so the people sitting next to you on the plane can't see your screen while you're working on whatever you're working on. They're actually a very popular product for the company. Anywho, 806 adults were asked to identify their favorite seat, window or aisle, and 492 of them chose a window seat. So here's our 5 standard questions we're typically asked with hypothesis testing on proportions. And we're going to tackle these one at a time and get every one of them knocked out. So first up, we've got what are our hypotheses? Well, first we're going to think about what's the claim that's being made. So we can see the claim is that the majority of adults prefer a window seat. So majority means greater than 50%. So there's our claim. Next, we're going to write the null hypothesis. It is by definition a statement of equality. So there's our null hypothesis. And next, we're going to find our alternative hypothesis, which typically reflects the claim. We look at the claim and there's no semblance of equality with the claim. So therefore, we can just take that as our alternative hypothesis. So our alternative hypothesis will match the claim. And looking at that inequality sign there in the alternative hypothesis, we have a one-tailed test on the right. So our region of rejection is in the right tail of our distribution. Next, what's the test statistic? Well, for this, we're going to go into StatCrunch, go to Stat, Proportion Stats, one sample with summary. We put our information in. So we've got 492 people who said they prefer the window seat, 806 people total in the poll. We put these values in the fields to make sure that they match our null and alternative hypotheses we saw just a moment ago. We press compute, and out comes this wonderful results window. And there in the table, the next to last value in that table is going to be our test statistic. The p-value, of course, always right next door to the test statistic. It's that last value that we see there in the table. And if you look at the value there, it says less than 0.0001, which means it's a number that's really close to 0, but just a little bit above 0. Well, for all practical purposes, you can just call that 0. And in fact, you could actually put 0 into the answer field for your assignment, and it'll actually count it correctly. So that's all I do. Just put in 0 when you see that. Are we going to reject or fail to reject the null hypothesis? Well, to do that, we have to make a comparison. So if we compare the p-value, we're going to see that the p-value here, 0, is going to be less than any sort of, significance level that we select. So we're going to be inside the region of rejection. Therefore, we reject the null hypothesis. Then what do we conclude from the hypothesis test? Well, did we reject or fail to reject the null hypothesis? Well, we just got done saying we reject the null hypothesis. That means there is sufficient evidence. So we're looking at answer options C and D. How do we know which one of those to pick? Well, we'd say, okay, do we have a one-tailed test or a two-tailed test? And you remember earlier from our alternative hypothesis, we have a one-tailed test. Therefore, we're going to select answer option C because one-tailed test means we're going to support the claim. So here's how it breaks out with the pattern that we talked about earlier. Again, if you don't know this pattern, it's really good for you to get it down because it's really helpful for solving these types of problems. And that brings us to the end of this mini lecture. I hope you found it helpful. You can find more mini lectures for this and other courses at AspireMountainAcademy.com. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.